All right, what's up, everybody? We're back at it again. This is Alex once again with the EOT News Flash. This is our Kaladesh limited set review. These are the blue cards. If you haven't already seen the white cards, go back and click on it. It's going to be somewhere in the description underneath the stuff down there at the bottom. So yeah, go and check that out. We're doing all the cards for limited. So if you're going to be drafting or playing sealed or your pre-release, which is next weekend, you can be ready. So as always, we operate on a 4-point scale. Your ones are the cards that you will never ever play. They are trash. Twos are the cards that are kind of like your filler, your mediocre creatures, your mediocre spells, the bulk of your deck a lot of times. Threes are going to be your premium spells and removal and your creatures. And fours are the absolute bombs that just go boom. Open the pack. There's the Jason Mind Sculptor. I'm going to play blue. I open up this. This is my sealed pool. Oh, there's a great rare. I'm going to play this. They're the cards that pull you into the colors that you want to play. And so without any further delay, we're going to jump right into Aether Meltdown. This is a 1 in a blue instant with flash. It's a, oh no, 1 in a blue enchantment aura, holy cow, with flash, therefore it is an instant. Enchant creature or vehicle, and when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Again, the energy is sort of like this new resource that you can get that's tied to you as a player, not to the permanent. So you can always have some amount of energy kind of at your disposal as long as you're playing cards that generate you energy. Enchanted permanents gets -4, -0. This is just a good, solid kind of pseudo removal spell. If there's a big guy coming at you, you want to be able to make it a little bit smaller, or it gets maybe trades in combat somehow. This is a great way to do that, and I really recommend it. This is a card I'm going to take pretty highly. Solid 2.5 for me. It's pretty good removal, and having flash always makes it good, and generating energy, as always, is really, really powerful as well. If I'm evaluating it correctly, it's just a tough mechanic to really get your head around until you've seen it in play. But for the time being, I like this card a lot, and you know the art's really sweet. Next one we have is the Aether Theorist. 1 in a blue. He's a 1/3 Videlkin Rogue. When Aether Theorist enters a battlefield, you get 3 energy, and you can pay 1. You can tap it, pay an energy, and scry 1. That's a good, solid, repeatable effect as long as you're able to generate energy. And the next card we're actually going to get to, Aether Trade Winds, kind of makes all of these blue energy generators a lot better. So as long as you have a good way to generate energy consistently, you're going to be scrying. And if you played Theros Limited, you remember the Scryfish, constantly scrying. Scrying on your upkeep or your opponent's instep is always a powerful effect to shift through your deck and find the cards that you need to win the game. So very good card. Solid uncommon. And the 1/3 body is nothing to scoff at either. This is going to block a lot of things, especially out of the white cards. So a solid 2.5 for me. Next one we have is Aether Trade Winds. We have a 2 in a blue instant. Return target creature you control and target permanent you don't control to their owner's hands. Okay, this is going to combo really well with any creature or just any permanent for that matter. Aether Meltdown, Aether Theorist already we've seen, to re-get their energy that they generate when they go into play. Bouncing a permanent you don't control can be a little bit trickier just because you don't want to bounce a beneficial permanent. But if it's something that's attacking you and you just make some blinks, maybe you need to be able to rebuy some energy. So you blink a guy that makes energy, blink their big guy back to their hand, and then just play the guy again next turn, get the energy, and have that ready for the next turn. This is a really powerful common to have at your disposal. I give this one a solid 2.5. It says a lot. It's a very tricky card. Bounces everything you could possibly need to do, so it's great. Next one we have is the Aether Squall Ancient. 5 blue, Leviathan 6/6. It flies. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get 3 energy, and you can pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 energy and return all other creatures to their owner's hands. Activates ability only at any time you can cast a sorcery. Upheavals are upheavals. Upheavals are sweet. If you can get this guy down with some energy to go with and just pop its ability immediately, you've probably won the game. This thing is super sick. The only thing it costs 7, so it's a little unwieldy, but still, I gave this thing a 3.5 because it's huge and awesome. All right, next one we've got is Ceremonious Rejection. 1 blue instant, counter target color of the spell. This is a tricky one to evaluate here. It's potentially main deckable because you've got all these artifact spells running around that are going to be widely seen in all of your limited games, especially sealed. Drafts less so, but in your sealed games that you're going to be playing at your pre-release, I can see main decking this one because it is just a counter spell for any colorless spell. The artifacts, the gear hulks, the vehicles, just to stop it immediately. This has a lot of implications in modern and older formats as well. It stops cranial plating, it stops Edge Champion, it stops Thought Seer, it stops Karn, it stops Ugin. Would you like me to go on? I've heard some people kind of make fun of this card simply because Steel Sabotage exists in those formats as well, to either bounce or counter a target artifact spell. This has got a little bit more application to it, but I can see the argument though. I like this card a lot. Solid 2.5 for me, just because of how many targets this will probably have in a lot of your games you'll be playing. So I take this one pretty highly as well and put it in your decks. Next one we have is Confiscation Coup. Wow. 3 blue sorcery. Choose target artifact or creature. You get 4 energy, and then you may pay any amount of energy equal to that permanent's converted mana cost. If you do, gain control of it. So this is a cool twist on the old mind control effects we've seen in previous sets. Actual mind control, corrupted conscious. So as long as you've got a stockpile of energy kind of built up, you can probably take just about anything on the board when you cast it. So this is a great card right here. I give this one a solid 3. Next one is Curio Vendor. It's a 1 and a blue Videlkin, 2/1. It's a bear. 2.25. It's a bear. Next one we have is Disappearing Act. 1 blue instant as an additional cost to cast. Disappearing Act, return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. Counter target spell. I was really dismissive of this card at first because I really thought, wow, this Wizards just trying to push the fact that they're not going to give us, unconditional counter magic anymore, like cancel. But then I started looking at the rest of the set. How many permanents in this set actually give you energy or have some kind of great ETB effect when you cast it? So all of a sudden, casting this Disappearing Act and bouncing a creature that you have that's going to generate energy on its way back down isn't the worst thing in the world. So this is actually a really deceptively powerful card, and I can see this going into a lot of your blue decks. I guess when it's all at 2.5, maybe it could be higher, maybe lower. Time will tell on that one. I'm going to reserve some judgment on this one for sure. Next one we have is Dramatic Reversal. Hey, look, it's the Justice League showing up because I don't know. 1 in a blue instant, untap all non-land permanents you control because untapping your lands is broken. What did I give? I give it a 2.5. In the best of situations, it's going to untap your guys after you swung out and your opponent's like, oh, no big deal, I'm just going to take some damage. I'm going to kill you in the next thing. You untap all of your guys and you block and win. Triton Tactics was a pretty decent combat trick back in Theros block. This is no Triton's Tactics, so you get no bonus off of it. Maybe there's something to do with some untapped artifacts, get you some advantage to generate. I don't know, but this one's 2, barely that. Next one we have is Era of Innovation. 1 in a blue enchantment. Whenever an artifact or artificer enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. And you get 2 energy, and you may pay 6 energy, sacrifice it, and draw 3 cards. This one I'm not quite sure on just yet. I'm going to give it a 2 for now, just because I don't know if you can consistently play on curve at the same time you're casting these artifacts. And what I mean by that is, if you play this on 2 and your next play is a 3-drop, but you want to get you want to get the energy off of Era of Innovation by paying the extra 1, you probably won't have that mana in any way. So you're kind of behind the curve in that sense. So this is kind of a newer concept, or a more difficult concept for newer players to grasp onto. So if you're going to be playing this, you will be playing it early and then maybe holding back some of your artifacts and artificers to go play in the later turns of the game. But just make sure that you understand that you're not going to get immediate advantage of this immediately. Now, if you play this on turn, 7 or whatever it is, and you've already got 6 in play, sack the energy immediately and just draw 3 cards. Just go for it. As it stands, though, I'm going to give this one a 2 just because I think the setup cost and the investment to the opportunity cost is a little too high. But again, this one could be a lot better than I think it is. So keep an eye on this one as well. Next we have Experimental Aviator, 3 blue blue, 0/3 Human Artificer, goes with Air of Innovation. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless flying flopper tokens on the battlefield. So, what was it? The blue one from Origins, the 4-drop. This is infinitely worse. I don't know why it has any power. I don't know why it flies. This card's not very good. It's a 2. The benefit is just simply getting the floppers off of it and having a decent blocker on the ground. It's not very good. Next one we have is Failed Inspection. 2 blue blue, instant, counter target spell, draw a card, then discard a card. This is a tricky one as well, just because simply counter magic in limited environments is typically not very good. You always want to be playing spells that affect the board and advance your board presence. You know, kill a creature or play another spell. Do something to affect the board, not hold up mana. Countering target spells unconditionally is great. Drawing and discarding a card is great, but still, it's the speed of the format, which I'm not quite sure how to evaluate just yet. Could be quite high or could be kind of slow, so it's going to really affect the overall rating of this card. As it stands, this one sits at a solid 2 for me. Probably better in draft, just having the ability to counter things kind of on your own to make playing like a more controlling blue deck. I can see it being a little bit better there. But as far as your limited games go at your pre-release, I probably wouldn't play this one. Next one we're going to scroll down just a little bit. We've got the Gear Seeker Servant. 5 blue blue, 5/6 serpent that costs 1 less for each artifact you control. 5 and a blue gives it the ability to not be blocked this turn. Don't let that 7 mana converted mana cost scare you away from this guy, because I can see this thing easily costing 5 or less in some cases. This is kind of like the affinity for planes, affinity for islands that we saw back from original Mirrodin block. And giving this thing unblockability, this is no joke. If you're playing, maybe like a blue, maybe tempo-y, artifact-based deck, this is going to be your win con, and if your opponents can't stop this thing, it's going to just destroy them. And if you get it down for any less than its converted mana cost, around that 5 spots, I think it's where it's best, it's where it's going to hit most of the times, you're in really good shape to run away with the game with this thing. I like this card a lot. I gave it a 2.5. Next one we have the Glimmer of Genius. 3 and a blue instant, scry 2, draw 2, get 2. So it's a 3 of a kind, 3 pairs. This is giving me hope that Wizards is finally kind of letting off of the no cheap and efficient draw spells in Standard. We really haven't had those in a very long time, and the ability to scry and then draw is a huge thing. If you remember playing cards like Sign in Blood or Read the Bones, this is a blue version of that, and it's just better. I gave this one a solid 3 just for the flexibility of the card. In your limited game, especially in your sealed games, at your pre-release, and on your online leagues on Modo, games are going to grind to a halt in some cases. You're going to get board states where you need to be able to kind of jockey for position, and finding this and be able to find the spells you need in the top couple cards of your library, that's a really huge effect. And I think this is going to be a really great card for limited game plays. I give this one a solid 3. I like this card a lot. Next one we have is Glint Nest Crane. 1 and a blue, 1/3 bird. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You reveal an artifact from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So this is a Fairy Mechanist from Shards of Alara block is what this card is effectively. It's a little bit cheaper to cast. It also flies. It's not a 2/2. It's not a fairy. This thing's really good here. Solid 2.5 just to be able to find an artifact in your library, especially if you're playing a dense artifact deck. I can see this thing being really good. Just don't be surprised if this thing whiffs a couple times. That's the forward I'm going to give you. Next one we have is the High Tide Hermit. I've been seeing Wizards likes to play a lot of crabs recently. We had 2 crabs in Eldritch Moon. I mean, crabs are everywhere now. Crab Tribal, sweet. 4 and a blue, crab, 4/4, defender. When it enters the battlefield, gain 4 energy, and you can pay 2 energy, and it can attack this turn as though it didn't have defender. So that's kind of neat. I gave this one a solid 2.5 for 5 mana. It's a huge body. It's going to block a lot of the time. And if you can kind of stabilize the board and maybe, tempo out the board and just start beating it with this giant 4/4, it's not bad. Solid 2.5 for me. Next one we've got is Insidious Will. This is not Tezzeret on this card. This is Baral, I believe is his name. Yeah, Baral, Chief of Compliance. Little bit of backstory here. He was the guy who was on effectively the Executioner's block with Chandra when her spark ignited, and he took a face full of Planeswalker Spark to the face. Badass. 2 blue instant. Choose one. Counter target spell. You may choose new targets for target spell. Copy target spell, sorcery, instant or sorcery. You may choose new copy targets. Wow, targets for this copy. So this is counter spell, redirect, and shoot, I forgot the other version of this. It'll come to me later. This is a pretty solid card right here, especially for 4 mana. Just being able to stop anything that your opponent's trying to do, redirect a removal spell, or just be able to just blow them out if they're trying to, get you with like a combat trick or something like that. This thing is really, really cool. Solid 3, 3.5, probably better in your more controlling decks. I just wouldn't just slide this into any blue deck. Probably not the best idea, but this is a really, really powerful card. I like this card a lot. Next one is the Janjit Sentry. Vidalcan Soldier, 2/3 for 2 and a blue. Enters battlefield and you get 2 energy. You may tap it and pay 2 energy to tap or untap target artifact or creature. We've seen things like Guardian Priest from Eldritch Moon. Just being able to tap a creature for some investment is always really powerful. And if you have a way to constantly generate energy, which a lot of these blue cards generate for you, this is going to be a pretty solid way to keep the ground clear for you. And just kind of slowly grind out the advantage and actually win the long game. Next one we have the Long-Finned Sky Whale. 2 blue whale, 4/3 flying, can only block creatures flying. Solid 2.5. Excellent role player. Next one we have, Malfunction. 3 blue that enchants an artifact or a creature. And when it enters the battlefield, tap enchanted permanent. Enchanted permanent does not untap during its controller's untap step. This is a little overcosted for this effect. Even at common, this is typically like a 3 mana spell. This one's rough, honestly, on the mana cost. I hate the fact that it costs 4, but it's still a really powerful effect. It's a solid 2 for me. I wish it might be better than that, but paying 4 mana for this effect can be a little bit dodgy, especially with the prevalence of the bounce spells that we see in a lot of limited games. This could go wrong really quickly for you. So just be aware that paying 4 mana and just getting this thing back, getting a creature bounce in response or bounce once it's their turn again, kind of sucks. Next one we've got is probably my favorite blue card in the entire set because it revealed the fact that Tezzeret is on Kaladesh. This is Metallurgic Summonings. 3 blue enchantment. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token where X is the spell's converted mana cost. So if you cast a 4-drop spell, you get a 4/4 artifact creature token. Super sweet. 3 blue exile Metallurgic Summonings. Return all instants and sorceries from your graveyard to your hand. Active this ability only if you control 6 or more artifacts. Unfortunately, this one probably isn't going to make the cut for you and your sealed decks. Having enough instants and sorceries to really get some power out of this one is really, really difficult. Typically, you're going to have upwards of 4 or 5 spells in your deck, and I just can't get behind trying to jam this into your sealed deck and actually build around this. That being said, draft is where this thing is going to shine. Open this up first pick, take it, build the super sweet spells deck, and just grind your opponent out with tempo and just make a bunch of artifacts and just kill them with that because Tezzeret's awesome. As it sits, this is a 2 for limited, except when you're drafting and you've got the deck for it, which, best case scenario, this card can be absurdly powerful. I can guarantee you that. Next one we have is Minister of Inquiries. It's a 1-drop Vidalcan Artificer, 1/2. Enters a battlefield, you get 2 energy. You may tap it, pay an energy, and target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into her graveyard. This is your, pretty much, almost I would say required at this point mill card that goes into every set because Wizards likes to, pander to the mill players of the world. Again, if you can generate a consistent stream of energy, this is going to get you some value out of it. There's no real graveyard shenanigans in this set. I can see you wanting to probably target yourself because there's a couple of black and black-white cards that actually get creatures or artifacts out of the graveyard. That's where this thing can come into play a little bit, but I wouldn't try and mill your opponent out with this thing. It's just a really bad idea. As it stands, though, Minister of Inquiries, I give it a 2. He's not great. Next one we have is the Nimble Innovator. 3 blue Vidalcan Artificer, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Typically, 3 mana 2/2s are good. And by that proxy, paying an extra mana to draw a card is also pretty good. As it stands, though, 4-mana 2/2s aren't great. It's a solid 2. You know, if you have the synergies to go with the, as it is an Artificer, if you have some of the synergies that go with the Artificer cards in the set, then it comes a little bit higher on the rating scale. But as it stands, this guy's just not very good. Even drawing the card to replace himself, not super exciting. Solid 2. Next one we have is Padim, Council of Innovation. Legendary creature, Vidalcan Artificer, 1/4 that gives your artifacts you control hexproof at the beginning of your upkeep. If you control the artifact with the highest mana cost or tied for the highest mana cost, draw a card. Impress me, color me, impress Padim. You're awesome. Solid 3 here. The body's relevant. The ability's relevant. You're in blue. You're playing a bunch of artifacts. Surely you're gonna have something in there to draw some cards off. I like this guy a lot. Solid 3. Next one we've got is Paradoxical Outcome. This is the moment where Rashmi, the Artificer on Kaladesh, finally realized that she could transport matter with this frisbee that she's got going here. But this is a 3 blue instant to return any number of target non-token permanents you control to their owner's hand. Draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. So this one's kind of weird. Yeah. It's not you can't target your opponent's stuff with this. You have to target yourself. I don't think there's a real way to generate any kind of advantage out of this. You can't bounce the servos or the Thopters you've made and drawn any cards. You've got to bounce the creature. This is a rough one. I don't think there's a way to really abuse this in Limited. This is far more a constructed card. Vintage and Modern have both shown decks that could really take advantage of this. As it stands, it's probably just a 2, maybe closer to an unplayable, but I can certainly see some situations where you're wanting to bounce your own creatures back to your hand and maybe replay them for some value, maybe to get your energy back. This one's rough. 2, and it's barely there at that. Next one we have is Revolutionary Rebuff. 1 blue, instant, counter target non-artifact spell unless its controller pays 2. Better in draft, and even then pretty rough. In your limited games for your sealed pre-releases and your remote online leagues. Games are going to grind out, and drawing this late in the game where your opponent will just pay for it is not great. This is no Mana Leak. Mana Leak's insane. This is not the revolution that Wizard wants this to be, unfortunately. Next one we have is Sahili's Artistry. 4 blue sorcery. Choose one or both. Create a token that's a copy of target artifact, and as well, create a token that's a copy of target creature except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. Holy crap, this thing's insane. This was the first card that actually got leaked out for Kaladesh. I believe this is the release weekend promo. This card is absolutely nuts. If there's anything on the board that you want to have a copy of, I'm going to have 2 of them. Jeez, this card is nuts. This is a 4. Holy cow. I want one of those. I'm going to make another one. I want like 2 of these. And holy crap. Woo, this card's sweet. Anyway. Select for inspection. 1 blue instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Scry 1. Vapor Snag good. Unsummon good. This good. 2.5. Next one we have Shrewd Negotiation. 4 blue. Exchange control of target artifact you control and target artifact or creature you don't control. So you basically just pull the old switcheroo. For 5 mana, this is about where this needs to be costed to actually be, fair in that sense. That being said, I probably would have gone my way to try and jam this into too many of my decks. Sideboard this maybe if your opponent has like a Gear Hulk or just some massive artifact or that you want to take control of. It's just kind of weird, and it's exchange control target artifact you control and target artifact or creature you don't control. So it's a little, you don't have to, I guess you can give like a servo or something to get their big dude out on their side of things. That's pretty good. 2.5 at best, yeah. Tezzeret's Ambition is next. 3 blue sorcery to draw 3 cards, and if you control no artifacts, discard a card. If you don't control any artifacts at this point, you're probably not playing the deck for this card. I give this one a solid 2 just because typically draw spells like this are very, very slow. Unless you're playing like a really, really grindy, controlling draft deck. This is where it gets a little bit better, but I probably wouldn't, gravitate towards this card for any real reason. It's got Tezzeret on it though, and therefore it's kind of cool, but it's only a 2 at that. Next we have as our next creature in the thriving cycle. This is Thriving Turtle, 1 blue creature. It's a 0/3. Enters the battlefield, gets 2 energy counters, and whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 energy and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Cool. Big turtles are sweet. Give it a solid 2.5. It's going to be able to block in the early turns. If your opponent doesn't have anything on their turn, you're free to just kind of, pay the energy, attack, and with a 1/4, and it becomes that much more difficult to actually block. I think this guy's going to be pretty solid in any blue deck for both offense and defense. Really, really solid card here. Next one we have is Torrential Gearhulk, 4 blue construct, 5/6 with flash. Enters the battlefield, casts target instant card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that card is put into a graveyard this turn, exiled instead. So this is big Snapcaster Mage. It's a huge body by itself. The flash makes this thing completely playable even without a decent instant in your graveyard. And if you do, holy crap, you're probably winning the game at this point. This card is bananas. B-A-N-A-N-A-S, bananas. Need I say more? Solid 4. Next one we have is the Delkin Blade Master. I think this is the only instance of prowess in this entire set. And it's kind of apt too because these Vidalcan things have like 6 fingers, which makes them, kind of weird. 2 in a blue, 2/3 Vidalcan Soldier that has prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. Sweet. Give it a solid 2.5 just because, if you have any good tempo plays, you could easily, bounce a guy, block a guy, shoot a guy down, and probably trade up with whatever you're blocking with. Super solid effect, as always. The body's relevant. Solid 2/3 for 3 mana, 2.5. Next one we've got is the Delkin Wingsmith, 3 blue, 3/3. That whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it gains flying until the end of turn. So again, this is kind of where the Aether Trade Wind comes into play, where you can just bounce an artifact back to your hand, replay it, get this guy flying, jam in for 3. Even for 4 mana 3/3s, Grey Ogres are still completely playable limited. I give this guy a 2.25, somewhere at 2.5 when it starts flying around. Great blue common, bread and butter. What more can you say about a guy like this? Although he's not as good as the next guy as far as terms of bread and butter. This is Windrake, 2 in a blue, Drake, 2/2 flyer. Yeah. He's a 2.5. He's just a solid flyer. What more can you ask for a card like this? And so yeah, that's our blue cards. This is going really quickly again. When there's nobody else to talk to, you can just kind of game around by yourself and things go by in a flash. So make sure you check out all the other colors. We're gonna be going right to the color pie. So black is gonna be up next. Make sure you check out the white set review. Let me know what your favorite card is in the comments. I'm definitely interested in knowing what you think is gonna be the best color combination for Kaladesh Limited. What you're most excited to play with. Is it the Gearhulks? Is it the Planeswalkers? So many cool cards in this set. So definitely let me know what your favorite cards are in the set. And make sure you check us out every week over on EOT Newsflash, over on MTGCast. Find us on Twitter and Facebook, and over here on YouTube. I've done a lot of great videos in the past couple of weeks, so definitely check those out. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.